Tonight, in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, Honorable Jean-Michel Ninchan, the flag bearer of the Social Democratic Front, Honorable Joshua Osei, arrested by security forces in the economic capital Douala. They were taking part in a peaceful protest when they were picked up by men in uniform. We tell you about the tense atmosphere which reigned in the country's economic capital Douala in this edition of the news. We also take you to Kakato's neighborhood to take a look at the difficulties of local inhabitants, the roads that are in very bad condition, a difficult situation especially for commuters in the southwest region. We talk about the church that is preparing for a peace summit. We shall be right back with the details. Stay with us. Good evening once again to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for joining us. A peaceful protest turned sour. The atmosphere was a tense one at Douche Municipal, that is here in the country's economic capital Douala this afternoon, where Honorable Jean-Michel Ninchan and Honorable Joshua Osei were about staging a protest demonstration with other SDF party supporters and some Cameroonians in the economic capital Douala. Security forces arrested the two officials when they were about starting the protest. Details with Simanji Gabriel was on the scene of the incident.
Douche Municipal Neighborhood in Aqua, Wednesday. Security forces disperse a crowd wanting to demonstrate with tear gas. Amongst those escaping was last year's presidential candidate Osei Joshua in his vehicle. All of these people had come to join the Social Democratic Front Party for a protest march to request that the President of the Republic punish those who caused Cameroon not to host the 2019 African Cup of Nations. At every roundabout in Douala, the anti-riot police cars had been placed, while in some areas it was ready combat security forces, all to stop the said demonstration. Finally, the most talked about demonstration, which had been banned by the divisional officer for Douala 1, didn't finally take place, as even Jean-Michel Ninchan wasn't spotted at any of the itinerary he had given.
Smart Njikan Gabriel and Danny Warenzo captured those images, and it should be noted that just at the time when Honorable Jean-Michel Ninchan was about taking part in the announced peaceful protest at Douche Municipal, he was arrested alongside Honorable Joshua Osei. We certainly are following up developments as far as the situation is concerned. We'll be keeping you updated as soon as we are informed. Now, inhabitants in Masumbu roundabout in Cameroun, that is a neighborhood here in the country's economic capital Douala, say that their health is seriously being affected by the huge quantity of dust from the seasonal road whose construction has simply been abandoned. They complain of suffering from prolonged cold, seeing they are battling with dust in their homes. Health personnel have equally indicated that they are overpowered by the situation. Innocent Aze tells us more.
Inhabitants of Cameroun, to be precise, Masumbu Carrefour, say they are going crazy because of dust this dry season, ever since the dilapidated tar was totally removed last November for reconstruction. Till present, the road has been abandoned in a seasonal state by the contractors.
Ça alors c'est incontable.
Il y a 500 camions qui traversent au moins par jour.
Close to 100 heavy-duty trucks transporting materials to the Japoma Stadium construction site. Residents say ply the roads a day, raising dust which settles not only on rooftops but also inside homes.
Nous vivons cloîtrés dans notre maison telle que vous avez vu, enfermés comme des prisonniers.
Dust, they say, settles even in the boxes, drawers, in dishes, and in a nutshell, everything in the house.
Ça veut dire que vous lavez les assiettes et les verres, vous ne les exposez plus comme on le faisait par le passé.
Thus, they are vulnerable to illnesses, mostly cough and catarrh, as according to the inhabitants, consume and sleep in dust.
Nous mangeons la poussière. Nous dormons dans la poussière.
Je ne vais pas manquer de vous dire que c'est le bouillon de poussière que je prépare.
They end up battling in health centers, also covered with dust for treatment. Nurses complain they are threatened by the dust and are compared to dust everywhere, after every hour.
Cette situation est vraiment catastrophique.
They find it difficult to treat themselves and patients who come in their numbers with either cough or catarrh to be healed.
Nous tous sommes ici à contre-temps.
Unfortunately, the nurses say the dust prevents effective treatment.
Pendant que tu te soignes, tu es toujours exposé et puis ça ne donne pas.
Road users are compelled to use nose masks to avoid inhaling dust.
Nous vivons le pire.
Bike riders on their parts complain of leaving home neat and returning like ghosts.
Nous sommes plus à l'aise comme avant.
Their activity, they say, has grossly been hampered by the dust as they are now unable to ride in all localities as before for fear they are moving into their grave.
Il nous met vraiment en difficulté.
Other inhabitants employ individual efforts to minimize the dust by watering the roads, though it often ends as waste.
Parfois je connecte les tuyaux, j'arrose ici devant, mais même jusque là, ce n'est pas possible.
So, because complaints served all local administrative authorities, like the divisional officers for Douala 3 and 5, including the senior divisional officer for Wuri and the governor of the littoral region, have yielded no fruit. Reason why the residents have humbly approached the road construction company, imploring officials to water the roads at least twice a day to limit the dust. If at all they face problems to continue the road project.
S'ils trouvent que là où trouver de l'eau est difficile, qu'ils viennent même on leur donne de l'eau pour qu'ils nous aident au moins à arroser.
We are told the company has watered the road just once since then.
Cette route demande à être arrosée au minimum 3 fois par jour.
The population emphasized they ask not much, watering of the roads daily, while the tarring delays.
And how long would they continue to water the road? The people say they want the road to simply be tarred. Now, peace will be at the center of the 2019 edition of the Youth Day, that is the 53rd of its kind in Cameroon. In a preparatory meeting in the economic capital Douala, the officials expressed satisfaction at the level of preparation so far. Immaculate Fogue was there. She tells us more.
The theme of the 2019 edition of the National Youth Day will be focused on how to promote peace in Cameroon. Officials at the Ministry of Youth and Civic Education said peace is a vital instrument at this juncture in Cameroon when the rate of moral decadence is on the rise and some regions plagued by insecurity.
There is no development without peace. And youth are those people who are enrolled in activities, criminal and whatever brings death and whatever brings desolation. That is why the theme on peace in Cameroon has been chosen.
Ensuring the smooth organization of the 11th of February celebration was the purpose of the evaluation meeting, grouping officials and stakeholders in the littoral region. During this preparatory meeting, progress made in the provision of logistics and the preparation of the ceremonial ground was evaluated.
There is no problem with the municipal ban. We have all other solutions. We have taken part with universities, other municipalities and other groups in the quarters so that they can bring us bands for animation. Those youths who will emerge, we have to look for tents and chairs.
If all the decisions arrived at during this Wednesday meeting are effectively implemented, then the 53rd edition of the National Youth Day will be a resounding success in the Littoral region, according to the Delegate of Sports and Civic Education.
And in prelude to the Peace Summit to take place in the Southwest Regional Headquarters of Buea between the 25th to the 26th of January 2019, the Presbyterian Church in Cameroun, the PCC, the event's organizers, met with the press that was in Buea today. During the Buea meeting, the Presbyterian Church reiterated its commitment in ensuring that peace reigns in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon, this as the crisis has continued to deepen. Let's now have an excerpt of the reaction of some of the officials who took part in the meeting. They were speaking to Derek Jato this afternoon.
Concerned about the resolution of the crisis, but then it had not escalated into violence. On the 1st of January 2017, in the moderator's New Year address to the Christians of the PCC, he focused mainly on that crisis and recommended immediate dialogue to be engaged, seeing that as the only way out of the crisis. From then till date, the PCC has repeatedly sent forth its call for dialogue. The moderator has sent out several communiques. The Synod Executive Committee sent out a communique. The moderator signed a joint communique with the 5 bishops of the Anglophone Cameroon and the president of the Cameroon Baptist Convention. All of these insisting on the need and urgency of dialogue.
The summit is taking place from the 25th to the 26th of January 2019 at the Synod Hall here in Buea. We will begin day one with the arrival of the trainers from the various parts of the country and the world, and we think that when they will arrive by 12, getting to 2 p.m., we'll have a peace campaign where we have our special stickers. We have to move out there, put them on taxis. We are targeting taxis because they are those that move around the town and people can easily reach our various messages of peace. And by afternoon, we'll move to Limbe to also do the same exercise. And the 2, which is the conference proper, we intend to start at 10 o'clock. Just to remind you that we invited the administration. The governor of the Southwest region is supposed to be in attendance.
Those are officials of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon detailing on the upcoming Peace Summit, which would begin on the 25th of January 2019. On to something else, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development has inspected road infrastructures under construction leading to the Olembe Stadium and annex, as well as some low-cost houses in the nation's capital. She urged the various contractors to accelerate works and meet up with the deadline, as Innocent as he tells us in the following report.
Works linked with stadia construction in Yaoundé, notably between Olembe 1 and Carrefour Fougerolles, passing through Nkorbong, are advancing to the satisfaction of the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Cortez Kecha Celestine. This is one of the road stretches leading to the Olembe Stadium. On this road stretch, unlike that which links Chinga village at Carrefour Sam, engineers are busy realizing the various projects in synergy. Directly at Olembe, the different paths and works surrounding the Olembe Stadium are as well accelerating. Visibly, heavier works have been done and only lighter ones left for finishing touches before tarring of the roads. All enterprises engaged in the execution of projects related to the AFCON have been instructed by the Minister of Housing and Urban Development to gear efforts this dry season such that the deadline is respected. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Cortez Kecha Celestine, also inspected low-cost houses under construction just a stone throw from the Olembe Stadium. A round of applause was given contractors who have attained over 90% of works. Those still delaying have been cautioned by the minister. The minister's wish is to see the low-cost houses ready before April to accommodate first occupants. Enyo and Kamwata are already set to provide electricity and water in the structures.
Take you to news out of Cameroon. France has summoned the Italian ambassador to Paris for questioning after the former was accused by members of the Italian government for impoverishing some African countries. Italy has maintained that France has continued to be a colonizer at the detriment of some countries within the African continent. Details with Babla Jonathan.
Italy and France have a long story of fighting as European Union elections draw near. The fight has been transported to Africa, where Italy is accusing France for impoverishing African nations by maintaining them in colonialism with its franc CFA currency and colonial-inclined policies.
We must address the causes of this crisis because people are leaving Africa, in part because some European countries, led by France, have never stopped being colonizers. There are dozens of African countries in which France prints its own currency, the franc of the colonies, and with that currency, French public debt is financed.
Italian Deputy Prime Minister Luigi Di Maio further calls on the European Union to sanction France for indirectly promoting the migration crisis in Europe by causing an increasing number of poverty-stricken Africans to continue undertaking the perilous journey for greener pastures through the desert and the Mediterranean. And far from ending the fight, another Italian Deputy Prime Minister, Interior Minister Matteo Salvini, claims France had deliberately allowed the security crisis in Libya to deepen for national gains.
I hope for the good of the French, who are a great people, that they come out of this moment of crisis. Macron was a laboratory-invented product to stand in the way of any change on the horizon. That seems obvious to me now.
French President Emmanuel Macron has entered the fight.
It is indeed clear that today there is a strong opposition between nationalists and progressives. And I will not give anything away to nationalists and to those who deliver this hate speech. And so if they wanted to see me as their main opponent, they are right.
Despite the fighting between Italy and France, they have one thing in common. Both want to take the lead in the European Union.
And of course, we would be talking about that in the second part of this newscast. Before we take you to a talking point tonight, a test race ahead of the 2019 Mount Cameroun Race of Hope has taken place. It was an opportunity for officials of the Athletic Federation of the Southwest region to select those to represent the region in the said competition. It should be noted that the race, which is now called the Race of Goodwill, will take place on the 27th of February 2019. We are going to be having the excerpts of Mr. Ndonge Semplis, the 2016 winner of the Mount Cameroun Race of Hope, Mr. Lambit Elijah, who is equally a participant, and Leonga Esombe Samuel, son of the Queen of the Mountains, Sarah Leonga. They were speaking to Derek Jato. Those are the images of the test race ahead of the 2019 mountain race, or the Mount Cameroun race, that took place. The competition would begin or would take place on the 27th of February 2019. Let's now get the reactions in the following interviews.
Myself, too light. So that was why I was able to go out fast. And when going down, I was also fast. Christian? The forest up to one. There are grasses there which is too much. So there's too much grasses there. That's the second to it. When you are running, your legs are itching you. So okay, how prepared are you prepared for this year's Mount Cameroun Race of Hope? Yes, I don't really know because
God, when there is life, there is hope. So I want to thank first of all my mother, the Queen of the Mountain. Then I have my coach, the Major, we call it, it's a soldier, Major Fuso. Yes, Fab Yaounde. That's my coach, so I can say that I'm very grateful for my third position because I did not expect it.
The challenges you faced while up the mountain?
Well, it's just that I can say that that everybody knows the capacity of training, so you cannot say that if you are won the selection race, you can win the mountain race. But that is the tactics, and I have my system to do my training, and the system can.
And that brings us to the end of this first segment of the news. We shall be right back with talking points. Stay with us. Mr. Ako John Ako, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine once more to talk on issues affecting Cameroon and Africa in general.
Thank you so much once again for coming. Tonight we have two key issues on the agenda. The protest demonstration of Jean-Michel Ninche banned again by officials here in the littoral region of Cameroon, and the war of words between Italy and France. We begin right away in the national territory, the situation which took place in the economic capital, Douala. Jean-Michel Ninche again defies administrative order banning an announced protest, yet the Pacific Walk did not take place. We saw how they were taken away by security forces. Do you think, Mr. Ako John, that the SDF is a threat to the current regime?
The SDF is not a threat, not just the SDF, but all Cameroonians are a threat to Cameroon now, the ruling party, because you have seen several times, remember, that the right for public protests have been submitted to what we call administrative requisition, which means at any time you need to go on a public strike, you need to demand the state or ask permission from the government whether you have the right to do so or not. But then these rights are embedded and enshrined within the laws of this nation. The Constitution recognizes that we are members of the United Nations Declaration on Human Rights and Freedom, which means Cameroonians as they are, it is a basic right to claim for a particular aspect by going to manifest or publicly express your intention. I don't see why in Cameroon we are always still afraid when citizens come out to express their mind, because they have tried to use other avenues to make their cry or their witnesses heard, but the government has always turned it down. Most often than not, you will equally realize that I said some time ago, one of the highest freedom which if humanity need to enjoy is the freedom of expression. At any time that we have intention, the forces of law and order have all been kept at the doorsteps of those who are at the level of initiating this work or this movement to quench it down, to assassinate it, or at times many have been taken to prison. Coming with Jean-Michel Ninche and Honorable Joshua Osei, I don't think it is new. It is just what they expected, that the government was just going to give this response, because it has never been different anywhere.
Why is it difficult for officials here in the economic capital, Douala? We saw almost a similar situation in Yaoundé and almost across the national territory. Why is it difficult for officials in Cameroon to issue order for protest, especially when it is a peaceful one like this one?
Yeah, the Cameroonians have lived to learn a lesson that anything that starts always as a civil protest has always generated into chaos and destruction. This is the aspect of the government, meaning coming to manifest in the public domain always cause a lot of destruction to the public. And they are not sure because they know what is going to happen. I'm telling you that the peace we enjoy in Cameroon today is what we call fragile peace. The government is aware that in fact, you have seen within the results of the International Human Rights Watch that out of 10 regions in Cameroon, only 3 regions seem to be very calm. That 7 of these regions have been touched by one crisis or the other, and the government is still aware that the beginning of another issue, as what is going on within the southwest and northwest region, starting in the other part of the Congo, like in Douala, may spark a general.
Could this be the reason why the government is refusing to issue an authorization? Because when you hear the explanation of the divisional officer for Douala Free indicated that there is the need for peace to be maintained, especially here in the littoral region of Cameroon. Could that possibly be the reason? Because we're talking about the report of the Human Rights Watch.
From what you just said, you realize that it was a peaceful march past. There were no arms, no weapon, nothing. People might just have to march along. I believe what happens in many developed regions, if a regime and the system in place is very proud of itself, is just to model it up, follow them up, put the military. We have seen that in Egypt. We have seen a lot of this movement in other advanced democracy where people are on a civilian march past. The military, the police just accompany them to see that their witches are ahead and that they shouldn't destroy or go or cause harm to the public. A peaceful march past still remains a peaceful march past when we look at these people, they were not anywhere with arms or sticks. They were mere civilians. Others were in their cars, except there was an indication that maybe arms were going to be used, or people were preparing petrol or kerosene to be used in other centers, but this was not the intention of the march party. They had an intention which is made known to the government that we were to host the African Cup of Nations 2019, and it is not banned. I think the right for public expression is the right of the people, and that the people have the right to express their intention to the state, and at any time, a reasonable regime, a government that reasons and works for the people, has the right to listen to its people and work to the dictates of its people. We have seen that in France, that many, which is just too recent, that when the public cry out for a particular issue, we go out for it, we do what they want, not what we want. This is democracy. Government for the people, by the people, and for the people. If it is really the government which is working for the people, give the wishes of the people and stay out from their trouble. If not, then the regime where we live in, Cameroonians know now that we are living within a totalitarian system where only one person's instruction rule. If you are not talking in the name of the CBDM, if it was a CBDM meeting to march in support of the head of state, it would have been a peaceful march past. But now that it is an opposition party coming in to express his weaknesses or his grievances against the state, that the Nation Cup was supposed to be hosted. Remember, a lot of economic operators in this country borrowed huge amount of money, preparing that by June or December, the banks that borrowed this loan are thinking of receiving some reward of what they were investing. And now the chief.
So the Social Democratic Front is concerned about the economic fallout
that is an
of this
opposition
withdrawal, because the Social Democratic Front, of course, is actually one of those who are calling for the Confederation of African Football to withdraw the hosting right of the competition from Cameroon.
Yeah, because really they were looking at it that they were already witnesses, and then bringing foreigners to a nation that was not ready to host the Nation Cup was going to be, in fact, a saga for Cameroon. When we know, in fact, sometime I said that Cameroon is the Brazil of Africa. You cannot be preparing to host a game which you think you master very well, and you are unable to host, even on the eve. They told us publicity to everything. Le Cameroun sera père le jour J. And I was again embarrassed that le jour J, which is just 6 months again away, we were stripped of the right to host. I believe those who are responsible, it is not legal if we were still being governed, a government where we need accountability, transparency, and information given to a citizen, that those who are responsible that we could not host should be dragged to justice, and then the force of law meet with order.
Mr. Ako John Ako, we've talked about protest demonstration being suppressed. We saw how security forces were demonstrating at Dushu Municipal here in the country's economic capital, Douala. You've equally talked about the necessity for people to air their grievances when need be. When it is being suppressed by the government in place, what could be the impact in the short and the long run?
Yeah, within what we have just seen is that the moment I was taught that the freedom of expression is a right and which has an impact in government decision taking, which means if you stop people from talking, it will mean the government at one point will keep on doing what it's thinking is right and doing things which its citizens are not comfortable. It becomes like you are nursing, you're already nursing something which, when it comes out, I said sometime, it's just like the hypothesis of an egg when boiled, asked to be eaten today, and if allowed to eat the same egg 1 week after, it will mean it will become suitable for eating, consumption. This is what happens with grievances of individuals when they think of expressing it at an early stage. Remember, this is the same situation. We have been learning a lot of lessons. In the Anglophone crisis, they started all. Some people told the Anglophone Cameroonians that they should go back and wait in Bamenda on the Palepa village and route. And when it came up to public, up to now it is 3 years, allow Cameroonians to express their means. In many developed states, there are centers where citizens drop their grievances against the state. They will not only drop, but see to it that the government take that into consideration. Economic impact, when you live within a country where they know there's no freedom of expression, what we have, what multimedia in audiovisual centers, you will not have it. Remember, these things equally end as employment to the citizens. Again, writing books and authors. Many authors in Cameroon today write and publish abroad because the citizens are not free in their country to publish certain articles. These are just some of the concerns. Research and development will be highly hampered, and In fact, we know
there
what
is need for freedom of expression and protest. Thank you, Mr. Akojo. Now, the war of words between Italy and France continues. Italy says that France is responsible for the underdeveloped nature of African countries, as some of them are still under the French control. France, on its part, is indicating that it is hate speech unfounded, while Italy has maintained its stance. What do you think about the declaration of this Italian government? Are they founded?
They are. It is not the first time. If you read through the article, you equally realize that the interior minister in Italy, what they call Matteo Salvini, sometime in October 2018, said France has carried migrants into Italy. Remember, Italy is the very first location or site where every migrant coming from Africa harbors first at the Lampedusa Island, which is an Italian territory. And so Italy passed all this time managing migrant crisis. And I will tell you again that the first, again, we could, some time ago I said, the war in Libya was a war which was championed by the French. And for the war, for the egoism of the Libyan oil. That has not been the case. We saw consequences just 6 months after the whole Europe was flooded with migrants. France came in wholeheartedly and destroyed the government in Libya. And then a lot of people, it is even again the center of the cause of the Brexit. When Britain was asked to receive migrants, they said, no, I have received enough. France, you take more. But you see the same migrants whom France have impoverished the nations, Cameroonians, Africans, all Francophone Africans.
What is the link between immigration and the Franc zone, the immigration they're talking about?
I said that where there is poverty, when you carry the jobs abroad, when local companies don't produce, they don't transform, it will mean a lot of those raw materials which France is taking here to produce abroad, then bring them back to Africa, means the jobs are in France. And so Africans need to go back to Europe to seek for those jobs there and then think how they can stabilize their own economy. A lot of this has been happening. I'll tell you that the Luigi Di Maio was elected as a nationalist. He thinks Italy first and thinks anything that affects Italy affects the nation of the people of Italy. And migration has still remained a thorn in the flesh of Italians.
Is that the only reason why Italy is so much interested or paying a lot of attention on this issue?
It is not, again, one of the aspects which is human rights.
Another issue is taking over the European Union.
I'm telling you that one of the issues, again, is enslavement. Italy feel like if France is enslaving Africans because of the African resources, again, when you look at the consequences of the actions of the French just on the recent Democratic Republic of Congo elections, because they had their own candidate, and they were thinking that the candidate that was going to get instruction from the European Union, the Belgians and the French, did not win. And so the other candidate, Tshisekedi, was not supposed to be the right leader. For the first time, France contested an election where an opposition leader was declared the winner. It gives us the egoistic tendency that the French people, if not of anything, Africans are contributing enormously to the economy of France. Not only in terms of finances, because they control the French CFA. Some time ago, we need to sell goods in European market. We pass through a French intermediary. That caused a lot of harm. Human resources otherwise. The greatest Africans as literaries or professors have been trained. The Leopold Sédar Senghor, which we respect very much, are all Africans. Look at the French national team that just won the World Cup. If you look at it, you look at the composition, Africans have been rendered poor financially, physically, socially, academically. They will tell us that all the books in France. If we believe in ourselves, Africa will be a better place. Luigi Matteo just did what was right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ako, for joining us. We hope to have you some other time again. To our viewers, it was equally our pleasure having us in this edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.